Welcome to the Lifestyle Overland channel. Usually, we're sharing videos of our family exploring the southwest United States and beyond. But in this series, I've teamed up with some friends while Sarah, Caroline, and our new baby, Abigail, hold down the fort until spring. If you're just now joining us, we're picking up where we left off in last week's episode, exploring southern Utah with Caleb and Matt, who made the trip up from Texas. After a long day of punching through the frozen snowdrifts and the many resulting recoveries from getting high-centered in the slush traps, our convoy of 2 4Runners and a Bronco Sasquatch opted to back out of the icy landscape and head for greener pastures. With sunlight quickly fading on our hard burn across paved roads to a new area, we had to bail off the main roads to find camp for the night. Since winds were predicted to be in the 20-mile-per-hour range with up to 40-mile-per-hour gusts, we pointed the rigs towards some canyons as shown on our topographical map in hopes of avoiding the oncoming barrage. After a couple of failed attempts due to abandoned, washed out, or dead-end trails, we finally found shelter in a dry wash just as darkness swallowed the landscape. Since it was my turn to cook the next round of supper and breakfast, I quickly began whipping up some blackened Cajun chicken Alfredo for our hungry crew. And it wasn't long before all our stomachs were audibly cheering on the process, which can honestly be slow when you're filming every step. Sorry boys, but you signed up for this when you decided to travel with a digital storyteller. Alright, bon appetit! The next morning, we were moving a bit slow due to our extraction efforts from the day before, so comfort food was again on the agenda with some camp biscuits and sausage gravy before hitting the trails. Since time was of the essence after our lazy start, I opted to forgo the usually relaxing routine of hand grinding our coffee beans and use a seldom filmed method that would make Tim the Toolman Taylor very proud. Can you say more power? What? Again, filming might have delayed this feed, and so my timing on asking about the quality of the fare was either spot on during a ravenous moment.
Oh yeah.
Is that ticket?
Oh yeah.
Or these gentlemen were being a bit too kind in the review.
That's the verdict. Speechless.
Delicious.
Either way, calories were consumed and we were ready for what was next. And boy, were we going to need it yet again. While laying in bed the night before, I'd sketched out a creative route back to pavement on our trek west, since the surrounding terrain was just a bit too tempting not to explore. My plan seemed to be working as the mostly frozen trails quickly lulled us into a bit of security about our route. That is, until we found a hillside that was facing south into the simmering sun, which meant it was far more thawed out than what we had been running just a few minutes before.
So I'm just going to try to go into low and get red traction control. Yeah, because this stuff I start backing up, it may not want to stop.
I don't think it will. I think we should probably all go ahead and just take a minute and reassess what we're into here.
As Caleb in the lead rig began his ascent of this unassuming hill, it quickly dawned on him that his traction was slipping away when at the halfway mark, the landscape underneath turned into grease. We all felt the pucker factor increase as his forward momentum ended, followed by a gentle slip backwards where he thankfully came to a precarious stop.
Oh, it's real slick here. Wow.
Right there. And it would have been okay if Toyota pulled throttle.
Yeah.
I couldn't clean treads.
All right.
I'm like,
Traction control got us.
Yep.
It was clearly time to investigate and explore our options for the next step. This was what we were hoping to avoid by our relocation to a new area, but this warm hillside caught us all off guard. Since the ground was a literal bed of grease, and taking into account the not-so-friendly embankment to the side, backing off this hill was going to be far more risky than a controlled ascent.
Went to the danger zone.
So, we aired down Caleb's 4Runner in an attempt to finish the last few feet of the hill and regain the frozen ground on the other side.
It's moving.
yeah, it's 1, 2.
It's doing good with e-brake on.
Yeah.
Don't stop, don't stop. Don't stop, don't stop. Your turn.
That's one way of doing it.
Now, it was Matt's turn in the Bronco. But where his huge footprint was an advantage in the snow just the day before, the flotation here worked against him as he couldn't reach the solid layer just an inch or so below the grease. Thankfully, with some fancy steering work, he also made the ascent with additional points for style.
Nicely done.
Nicely done.
Wow, I have my doubts.
Right?
It's crazy though, because it's not creating like a deep rut. It's just that 1 inch and a half on top.
Yep.
And this is solid where I'm walking.
Next, it was time for Silver to try her hand at this slip and slide section. And so, with the Flowmaster in full afterburner mode, I put the spurs to her and let her run. While these ascents were impressive achievements of machine versus physics, it wasn't the most incredible feat of the day. That trophy belonged to your intrepid cameraman, who made 2 trips up this quagmire with camera gear and 20 pounds of mud in tow. You're welcome, Internet.
Oh, there you go. Little mud removal.
Looks like it's just going to be flat most of the way. Hopefully that's all the drama of the day. Hey, glad we're not coming up this one.
All right, well, we're finally working out of this nasty trail. Now, I do want to point out, if it's within our power, we try to avoid trails that are in that bad of shape, because you're going to leave ruts behind. It makes it harder to travel once it does dry out. And so, as much as possible, we try to stay off stuff like that. This time of year right now is the absolute worst, because you can drive for 20 miles on a perfectly good trail, a frozen trail, a rocky trail, and then hit just where all this runoff is coming off some of these caps. Sludge, grease, just like what we ran into. So we're actually making our way back towards pavement now to reset, to relocate, to see if we can't find someplace that's going to be a little more pleasurable to drive. A little ruddy in here. As I was saying, if we can't avoid the snow, so be it. We'll just go get in it. It's a lot cleaner, and it doesn't cause ruts to be put in the trail. So let's go see what we can find. Looks like it's lunchtime. All right, a bite to eat, and then on to more adventure.
With temps continuing to climb, our decision to relocate even further was confirmed as short sections of the trail began to thaw. We took the most direct route possible to paved roads and aired up for another hard burn to an entirely new region and yet another attempt to find dry trails or passable snow.
Yeah, I don't know, like, it might be best just to bite the bullet, air up, roll onto a new base.
We go ahead and air up here, we can run down this. This looks like it's just an old highway, so it'll be...
Let's just air up and then let's go get to the good stuff.
For this air up evolution, I'm testing a new kit that I built for Silver from Airline and Press-In Connectors. I've covered a bit of this kit in a previous episode, and since then I've had nothing but problems after assuming my quality scissors would give me a clean enough cut to assemble a leak-free system. I didn't share this last week, but on my first try, this kit leaked so bad that my already low tires were completely flat before I could even get my inflator up and running.
Really am determined to make this thing work.
This time around, I've finessed the connections a bit and have slightly less leakage, so we'll see how it does for a nearly hands-free airing up process. I'm happy to report that this go-around was much more successful, and once I get home, I'll rework my connections with a proper tubing cutter to continue to improve this configuration.
There it goes.
I'll also let you know how the lock inflate auto inflator is working in an upcoming Coffee with Kevin session on Patreon.
Take the long way home, stumble through the streets while the city sleeps and the moon hangs low. See the world through glazed eyes, absurd words and stage lights. Won't change come sunrise, still waking up alone. Well, I hear you calling and I'll come running, chasing down every corner running.
A few hours later, we were reversing the process and airing down for yet another attempt at travel in a fresh area. This time, the roads were still mostly frozen or covered in snow, so we breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that we weren't leaving nasty ruts or loading our undercarriages with tons of mud. With an ongoing threat of gusty winds for the night, we began hunting for another canyon for cover and stumbled upon a historic mining area complete with an abandoned classic car and remnants of a miner's shack. While most mines you find in the West were built in the pursuit of gold, silver, and other precious metals, this area is speckled with deposits of uranium. And during the Cold War, many fortune seekers flocked here, much like the gold rushes of the 1800s, to strike it rich in efforts to enhance the nation's stockpile of U-235, highly enriched uranium for use in warheads and naval propulsion.
Anybody need a bed?
Hey, there you go. You can sleep on that tonight instead of in the Bronco.
And if you're wondering if these sites are radioactive, yes, they indeed are, but at very low levels of alpha radiation, which is easily blocked by the thickness of your skin. However, if you inhale or ingest enough of this dust over long periods of time, your organs will begin to see some negative effects. Long story short, it's okay to visit, but you might not want to camp here in a dust storm.
Did we make a run again?
Sure. Little JB Weld should be just fine.
Put some 40s on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I think we have found camp for tonight, and with the wind picking up, this is a good find. Hopefully these trees will help. Along with the Horseshoe Canyon. We got some pretty cool mining activity up here on the hill yet again. Remnants of old cars that I almost drove on. That wouldn't have been good. Did you ever watch Hee Haw?
No, not really.
You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
There's a segment in there where they always say, "Hey Grandpa, what's for dinner?"
Well, tonight you're really in for a treat.
Cheeseburgers.
All right. I want to give you an update on the fire pit that we've been modding, adding all kinds of cool stuff to. And in my video I said I was going to experiment with some media to help retain heat. And let me tell you what, these little guys right here made a huge difference. They were hot for what, almost 45 minutes to an hour after we turned it off this morning. And I could still kind of smell it warming up the cover just a bit when I put it in the rig. So these guys right here, big difference, much more radiant heat, so we're dialing it in.
Pork and black bean dip. Yeah, that's good.
Here comes the wind, boys.
It's gonna be a fun night.
I'm glad we found this Horseshoe Canyon, but I don't know how much it's gonna help.
We appreciate you riding along on this adventure and hope to see you here again next week for yet another adventure in some of the most beautiful landscapes Utah has to offer. Until then, remember to stay curious and leave it better than you found it. But if you really love what we do and you find yourself riding along with us every week, then please consider joining our support team at lso.link/support. We would love to have you join these fine folks on your screen now in keeping these travels going. In appreciation, you'll get access to all kinds of helpful information like GPS routes, camping waypoints, behind-the-scenes content, and even some off-the-cuff reviews in my Coffee with Kevin sessions. Patrons, thank you all so much for keeping this channel rolling. We seriously would not be here without you.